This is Bob Dill, and this is his not-so-nautical creation, the Iron Duck. It doesn't swim, it doesn't go quack, but it goes like hell.
I think when looking back, the land sailors, they didn't have the curiosity or a design that was going to work for various reasons. They didn't understand the problem well enough. We were really looking at something that was using pretty basic tools. I mean, a welder, a bandsaw, some machine tools, and build something with it completely and beautifully. My background in this area is largely self-taught, and I think with that and understanding what other people had done just for making racing boats, we're trying to build a boat that would be something we could sail faster than anybody had sailed on a sailboat before. We kept at it, and after a while we learned that there was a top speed, but we didn't know where that top speed would be. Would that be beyond the point of control? If anything bad happened, it could be really bad. The main thing that we had is that we had faith in the design, and I think the design wasn't perfect, but it was more capable boat. I think we both really felt like we had something that was going to work, and at that point knew what we needed to do to take it up the next notch, and we'd be able to get to 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, so the Duck, it's built in a garage. It's built by two guys that were sailors as well.
The Bobs.
Yes, the Bobs.
Bobs.
Bob and I developed and sailed what became the fastest sailing craft in the world. This record lasted for about 10 years. The thing that's drawn me to land sailing out west is problem solving we're doing, and particularly with the speed effort. We're trying to do something that hadn't been done before. We're trying to do something we had relatively little experience with. It's a speedboat. It's designed only to go fast in one direction. It's only made to break records. We were doing it at a time when people hadn't come in with a lot of money and built the ultimate boat. It was still possible for us to do it with fiberglass, hardwood, and a bunch of parts off a few old Volvos.
And with no brakes, and all the joints are covered with duct tape.
It's a fairly conventional wake design because at the high speeds we're operating at.
There was certainly an effort to put Bob in the driver's seat more. It was his goal, so we really wanted him in the boat to break the record. He got close, but never quite got there.
Hi, my name is Greg Seibel, and today we're doing a little segment on ice boating. The lake has just started to freeze over, and with me I have three of them.
The original ice boaters seemed to be fairly fast and loose with what they claimed in terms of speed, in some cases around 140 miles an hour. We started ice boating about, I don't know, when was that?
83 or 84?
I was a couple of years before that.
For me or you?
I was a couple of years before you started.
Yes.
Right. With so much folklore associated with ice boat speeds, I bought a good quality radar gun. and measured boat speeds on windy days. The fastest speeds appeared to be maybe in the upper 80s or low 90s, but there was no reason to believe boats were getting anywhere near 100 miles an hour. These boats were way too primitive and poorly designed aerodynamically to have any hope of going that fast.
If any of you people want to come down and watch the ice boating, when you see the boats out here, maybe you'll be lucky enough for somebody to give you a ride.
When I started to look into this in some detail, it was quite apparent that we'd be able to build a boat with pretty basic aerodynamic technology and commonly available materials should be able to go significantly faster than anybody had gone before. How an ice boat or a land yacht could go faster than the wind is sort of analogous to taking a wet watermelon seed and squeezing it. The taper on the back of the seed forces the seed to squirt out from between your fingers. The earth is pushing the boat one way and the wind is pushing it another, and it squirts out forward. Land yachts at high speeds can go sort of maybe 3 to 6 times the wind speed. It's not an easy measurement to make, but speed ratios that high are possible. At the time, the current record was set on a beach in France, about 94 miles an hour by Bertrand Lambert, who's a very excellent sailor.
Les 6 heures, c'est la première course de char à voile que j'ai vue dans ma vie en 1970, et c'est ça qui m'a donné l'envie de faire du char à voile.
The land base was just a little more stable platform. You can go out and inspect a perfect plate of ice. 20 minutes later, a crack an inch wide will form. If you're running at speed, you do not want to catch a runner in a crack like that. So land was just a little bit easier to predict, but a lot further from home.
Bob and I have talked about campaigning the boat again. It's been under a tarp for a long time. It's not to just drive up and roll it off the trailer and go. It's a pretty big project.
It's been taken apart and put together more times now than it was ever intended to be, so it would need some work.
Yeah, so I came down to meet Bob, help him put the boat together, and to really learn how his thinking and process went into the boat. What mistakes he made, what kind of systems he used, and how I could incorporate that into my boat. Trying to set my own speed record on ice, so I'm building the craft right now.
We do tend to break a couple pieces every now and again. And me more than most, because I'm usually pushing it, but that's why I build them strong.
My 4th year engineering project was my boat. Yeah, I think the motivation for breaking a record like this is because it's so fringe. You got these speed records that people have heard about as legend, but it's very, very small, the amount of people that actually try this stuff. It's a lot of fun actually being around the duck because you see the people interact. You see the people that have grown up knowing about the duck. They've never actually seen it in real life. To see this living piece of history actually working and getting pushed around the playa. It's quite magical.
It's had some abuse. We run over it a couple times, fell off another time. Yeah, it's tough with these ferrets.
Bob and Bob. Can I get a picture with the Bob show? Sure. A little bit of history right here, man.
The Bobs are quite funny, their whole dynamic between each other. You can see the history there.
We need to crawl underneath Bob.
Do what?
Tape up all the wires.
Bob Dill, he's a legend. He's an engineer at its best, and it's why people gravitate to this sport. It's very technical, and the boat is 90% Dill, and they kind of work together to bring it to fruition.
What a machine.
The land sailing community is a mix of people from different backgrounds, different professions, everything from doctors to professors to hippies to a little bit of everything, creating very different boats from very different ideas.
We've gotten the boat pretty close to its maximum capacity or maximum potential for speed. And whether we could get it up another 7 miles an hour remains to be seen. First boat we built, we now call the wood duck. One of my favorite birds in the world is a wood duck. Wood ducks fly pretty fast, but they're not up there with the falcons, let's put it that way. And the wood duck never went all that fast, as it turns out. It weighed 1,400 pounds, had a really tiny 80 square foot wing. The reason we had 2 people in the boat, to be honest, is I was really trying to get Bob to be involved enough in this project so he'd come out west with me, and that he fell for it, what can I tell you, so. Took it out to Ivanpah Dry Lake for a land sailing speed trial. Got it up to about 70 miles an hour without any trouble.
I was in front steering the boat. Bob was in the rear controlling the wing. We talked to each other through headsets.
Way steady, Bob.
I think we can push her a little further.
Let's turn it around.
Decided we'd sail upwind, proper course for really going fast.
Steering control.
Looked at the anemometers, it was blowing 40.
Here we go, Bob.
One of the wheels lifted off the playa as the boat started to hike up. And I was trying to back the wing off to take the pressure off it. Bob was trying to steer out of it. The fairing we put on the front wheel as soon as the boat tipped up, lifted the front wheel off, so that meant we had no steerage. We were pretty much doomed at that point. The boat went over, broke the top of the wing. I got bruised pretty well, falling out of the boat. Bob was able to brace inside the front of the cockpit. At that point, learned a great deal about land sailing because a lot of the things we tried at the wood duck were bad ideas. We brought the wood duck home, laid it to rest, and that was what led to the building of the Iron Duck.
You know, Bob went into design mode. Well, the Iron Duck is a steel frame, a single-person boat, quite different in concept.
We were trying to make a boat that was strong and aerodynamically clean, built much more like a race car or an airplane. At the time, the 100-mile-an-hour speed was much sought after. Of course, by this time, we talked to all our land sailing friends and, well, what would you do differently? And got a bunch of good suggestions there. Iron Duck had a full roll cage, quite heavy, which it needs to be at very high winds. A total of 5 seat belts, so you're really strapped in. We had basically what looks like a steering wheel of sorts through a chain system, but a force multiplication chain. Steer with your feet, manage the wing with your hands. The asymmetry of the Iron Duck was about 14 degrees of offset, pointed directly into the apparent wind on port tack. And that made the boat we estimated it about 7 or 8 miles an hour faster. There were several people trying to build record boats. There was a team in England that was trying to build a boat, the Gwynn brothers. They were seeking sponsors. I think that may have slowed them down a bit. And I had a friend in Australia, Bill Finch, who was hoping for 100 miles an hour. We later learned that Richard Jenkins, when he came on the scene, we realized he was probably going to be the main competition. Had a design that wasn't too dissimilar from ours.
I thought it would be actually quite a simple solution to getting a world record. That hope quickly evaporated, and I got stuck into the very technical challenge. Using the wind, you really have to provide an engineering solution to minimizing drag and obviously maximizing the force you can gain from the wind. Once you've done that, you then got to be very lucky with the weather. It's infinitely harder challenge than I first thought when I took the project on all those years ago.
We had Bob's canoe shop, which was long and narrow.
Bob did all the structural parts. I helped with the fairing parts.
I did some work in the wing in my basement. I had to build a little extension to the basement to make it its design height. And we also put a flap on the back that allows them to generate more lift. We were able to build both boats, we think, for about $6,000. We probably spent about that much again campaigning the boat. I pretty much had an arrangement with the family that I'd be doing this and working to make a living and not much else. Oh yeah, getting some sleep in there somewhere.
We're constructing it in the Burlington, Vermont area. You didn't really get to try anything until you drive 2,500 miles and put it together. The fairings are all sort of screwed to the steel frame, and there are multiple pieces, and all the joints are covered with duct tape.
1, 2, 3.
What we did is we traded places in the boat. So one of us would go out and sail for 20 minutes, scare themselves and come back in, and the other guy'd go out, go a little faster.
I mean, you have no idea how this boat is going to handle. You have no idea what it's going to do when you get going 50 or 60 or 80 or 100. It was just unknown.
When it really got up to its top speed, would it become unstable? Would the wing start to flutter, in which case it basically tears the boat apart? You know, would you be able to stop in time? Playa's big, but it's not all that big.
And with no brakes, you know, anything can happen. I know one time, I don't know what the speed was, 80 or 90 miles an hour. At some point I went, hey Bob, look at this new tread pattern we have. And it was tire cord. We had worn the tires totally off.
It was pretty intimidating. Fall 1998, we'd been there for about 3 weeks. The last day we were there, it was blowing up around 25. We got the boat to 92 miles an hour. Broke the wing and had to put it back together.
And I can remember saying, this boat will break the record, but not with my ass in it. You do have to haul it all the way back home, fix it, wait another year, haul it all the way back out. The day the record got broken, I don't remember anything really special about the day.
I have a different perspective. Yeah. I'll shoot this as though this is true, but I'm not sure it's not. On the day we set the record, the wind was blowing 30 pretty steadily. If we're going to be successful, this was a good chance would be the day.
I think it was just a combination of getting the right angle, coming into the radar gun, getting the puff of wind at the right time as you're making the run. It was some level of trial and error and some level of luck, and it just all came together.
At our first run, we broke the record. We went faster than 94.3 miles an hour, not by much. But the second day, we had very similar conditions, same wind direction, same wind speeds. We started getting runs to 110 and above. Made us very happy, just to put it in a simple way. It was something we'd worked for a long time, and both our wives were out watching.
There's 116.7 is our number. Or at least that's what the guy put on the T-shirt. So assume it's right. You know, it just confirms when you can go make 8, 10, 12 runs all over the record that, you know, it really is a very legitimate record. You know, sort of see what it's all worth.
And it reflected, I think, the fact that we brought a design that was a good one.
You know, ultimately, you know, maybe we could have even gone faster, but you know, you run out of time and you achieve your goal, and then we did go back out, and you ran the boat, and I didn't get in the boat trying to up the record, and we continued to try that, not just that year, but the next year.
So far, we're up around 110 miles an hour, but he's not hitting the gust quite right. He's getting it in the lulls rather than the peaks.
You got within, what, a couple miles an hour?
114. Bob has always been a better sailor. I have to give him credit for that. So one way or the other, he was getting a little more out of the boat than I was. I just couldn't get it that extra few miles an hour. The miles an hour come hard at the upper end of the speed range.
So Schumacher, he went a couple miles faster than Dill. So Dill is always wanting to get it in his name. So it's kind of in the back of his mind.
There's certainly that sort of heartfelt feeling that it could go fast again.
That's the only reason to do it.
Yeah.
It's to go faster.
We expect to be able to go faster is with the GPS. We don't have to be running at a radar gun anymore. Yesterday afternoon, I went over and kind of sat on and thought about things. You know how it just sort of works on you. See whether this made sense. Bob assures me that it doesn't make a lot of sense. There's a possibility that
He was still thinking he wants to do this. That's what he was thinking.
Well, yeah.
I can read his mind. You know, the boat is old. I'm old.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'd love to see the record in Bob's name. You know, it's going to take a lot of work, and it's probably something I'm not putting, you know, as much time commitment in as I have in the past.
You know, when you got sort of all the pieces in place, you know, we got to be careful, you know, things break. I just think it's possible. We've got all the stuff there. It seems like we ought to take a chance. Prayer for wind, I think.
Right. It still won't be easy. You know, records are meant to be broken, not held on to. It was 10 years before our record got broken. You know, certainly Bob and I, to some extent, helped Richard with his boat.
Give him the thumbs up back.
26. This is a huge achievement. You know, I've been trying for 10 years, every year, to try and break this record. It's an incredibly difficult record to break.
And I was present when Richard broke the record. And it was great that somebody else would get out there and do it.
Yeah, 126.4 on all 4 GPSs. So, it's now over to you, mate. Ball's back in your court.
I know we were asked immediately after that whether we would get the duck back out and try to break his record. And I personally had no interest in it.
The realistic thing about all this speed record making is you're sitting around a lot, waiting for the right wind. But not only that, you're watching other boats sail around you while you're waiting for the perfect window, so it can be quite frustrating.
This is barely enough wind to get them around the course. Some of the boats up here are actually stopping, not enough wind speed to keep going. The lead boat, Alan Wortman, he's just smoking around the course. Duck takes about 4 times this wind speed to even think about moving. I mean, there are times we've been out there for 2 weeks and really never got, you know, conditions that you could really sail at speed.
World speed record holder at one time, 116 miles an hour right out here.
The playa is a dry and dusty place when the wind blows.
This is a good venue. That's why we came here. Richard Jenkins came here for the same reason. So we've got to go up pretty close to another 10 miles an hour.
You could start seeing the passion kind of come back. The child in him was starting to emerge. He was, oh yeah, this is the duck. All these feelings started kind of flooding back. Went across the playa, I think, once, and then we chased it down, pushed it around. So we did a lot of pushing this week, if you call that sailing. Yes. There was not enough wind for the duck at all this week, unfortunately, but that's the game we play.
The wind is always a mystery, and sometimes it seems to take good care of us, and sometimes it just drops us on our head, you know, just stops. So we'll see.
This whole week has been the kind of perfect example of what usually happens. You come out, set it up, you have great expectations, you have a window of opportunity only to be skunked. But you hope for the numbers, you play the odds, and you try again, and one day the wind will come through, and it just wasn't the right conditions for this week.
We almost got it running, but it wasn't enough to really more than roll a couple 100 feet.
Dill is the optimist, the eternal optimist, whereas Schumacher brings a little bit of levity. He's the realist when it comes to this boat. Bob always knew that this might be the final time for the Duck to actually sail. We'll just have to see what happens, whether it ends up in a crusher or whether it continues on.
Certainly the idea of building these boats came from Bob Dill and the passion. I became involved more as a helper.
Figure in a couple of years we can get this resolved. Either
a couple of years you can get this resolved.
Well,
sooner or later.
Yeah.
It just looks like a little later right now.
Yeah.
You go out and try something, and if it isn't quite right, yeah, you got to wait a long time to come back and try it again.
There was never a time when I really was ready to give up on the project. You had so much invested in it at that point, it was just easy to keep going. Think through problems and come up with solutions. That kind of gets you back in the game.
I have no intention of trying to break the record with it. I think decide it's too much effort, seeing if it would move.
Bob was a tremendous help in Ivanpah, but he wasn't able to come out this trip to the Alborn, so we miss him when we were here. For me, passion is having a goal, having that goal have some value to you or to others, and staying at it, seeing it through to the end. When it gets over about 30 or 40 miles an hour, it was what we call land sailing hooks up. And the boat just wants to go faster, and the whole thing is moving around and chucking and jiving. It's pretty exciting to drive that boat. It was just amazing to be in the boat again and feel all the things it does, you know. There's enough wind to start. It's just, but you can't give it too much. You just gotta let it slowly pick up, and then once it gets up to 20 or 30 miles an hour, it wants to go faster, and it just went like hell. It's like it's alive. Yeah, it's wild.
Hey, Bob! Yeah!
Did you scare yourself?
Not in a serious way, but I was. Were you up to 40 or 50 or something?
I guess.
Yeah.
GPS will tell us later.
Yeah.
It felt like 80. I mean, I wanted to go, but I'm sure it wasn't that fast.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Iron Duck sails again.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well done, Bob.
Yeah, Bob's really cemented some great ideas. It's agricultural engineering. These guys, they use the tools at their disposal, and they utilize that kind of engineering to make a beautiful craft.
There are a lot of things that were learned, and we started thinking about it in the late 1980s, so probably 25 years of total. I think there's no question that we gave up a fair number of things, but I think projects like this demand it, and that's just part of the price. I think I would do it again, but I'm not sure. I mean, there were a number of close calls over the years. It was a lot of work. Depended very much on a lot of support from people around me to get it done. The Iron Duck could go a little faster than it did, but there are questions about safety. It's getting pretty old. A whole bunch of shortcomings, which were not apparent in the design phase, but now that we've sailed it a while, and it's time for somebody else to pick up the quest for the speed record, take what we learned and start over again.
The Iron Duck has been out here running. To the last we heard, it hit 110 miles an hour.
Well, nice way to go out.
Yeah.
Never had a chance to sell it, never had a chance to give it away.
Yeah, the legacy of the Iron Duck will not die. It'll live on.
A piece of me belonged to you. And I saw the devil, and the devil was blue.